Thank you, Rush. My name is Dave Shelmire. I'm the director of the UT Tyler Longview Small Business Development Center. This has been a very informative morning. We've had some great panel discussions so far. I think this one's going to be very informative as well. This one is the access to finance and funding, which is in the business world where the rubber meets the road. Everybody needs money to start their business. And before I introduce our panelists, I do want to make an observation here. You know, small business is so vitally important to local economies. You saw during the COVID crisis, the PPP loans, the U.S. government threw trillions of dollars at small businesses. 50% of our U.S. payroll is paid by small business owners. So it is a critical sector of our economy, and one of the most important things to small businesses and entrepreneurs is access to capital. Things have changed over the years. You know, 100 years ago, people bought their house with cash. They saved up, bought a house. 50 years ago, they saved their cash and bought a car. 30 years ago, I started my first business by what's called bootstrapping. You don't hear that term very much anymore because bootstrapping has become so difficult. I liquidated my 401k, and I started my business, and I grew my business based on my profits. And my first business never got a bank loan. I didn't need one. But we're seeing that it's becoming so expensive nowadays to start businesses that, you know, access to loans and financing is absolutely critical to new entrepreneurs and small business owners in order to help their businesses start and grow. And that's what we're going to talk about today. And I'd like my panelists to introduce themselves. To my right, I have Eva Luna, and then there's Bridget Moon, and then Virgil Connor. I'd like each one of you in turn to introduce yourselves and tell us where you fit into the finance and funding aspect of our panel today. I'd like to start.
Hi, everyone. My name is Eva Luna. I work at East Texas Professional Credit Union here in Marshall. We're located on Alamo Street in front of the library. A little bit of my job, what I do is I can help you do personal loans, auto loans, mortgages, and it's a one-on-one conversations in an office. We offer, if you have no credit and you need funds, we can start you off on a shared secured loan. It's a 6-month thing. And you put $300 in your savings account and you borrow against those funds for 6 months. I've helped many, many people, and this establishes a trade line on your credit report to help you build credit to get a bigger loan. Now, if you need a loan for different reasons to start your business, we can do a personal loan. You just have to come in and talk to me and see me, and I can guide you and see how much we can fit you in for, or how we can work something up to get you where you need to be to get those funds. We offer CD rates, a lot of different things that we can help you establish trade lines to be able to get you those funds.
Thank you. Bridget?
All right, we want to, on behalf of SBA, we want to thank the governor's office to hosting this event and inviting us, as we are a federal agency here at the Small Business Administration. We are the district office in Euless. However, we cover 72 counties, so we're out here in East Texas as well. My name is Bridget Moon. I'm an economic development specialist as well as our veteran business development officer. Can I just get a quick show of hands who are my veterans in the audience, or just so I know my outreach after? Awesome, thank you. Yes, give a round of applause. We thank you very much for your service. What we do here at SBA, we have a wide variety of things we do at SBA. I encourage you to stop by my table in the very back. We have our national resource guide that talks a little about everything. But since we're doing a short introduction, mainly our focus is guiding, counseling, access to capital for small businesses. And we can definitely reach into that during this panel.
Thank you very much. And Virgil, I'm going to ask you to give folks outlook of what SBDCs do and your role. I'll have to say that Virgil, there's 1,000 SBDCs across the country. Every county is covered by an SBDC, and I can honestly say that Virgil Connor is one of the best SBDC business advisors in the country. He's been at this for going on 20 years now, right, Virgil? And Tell us what you do.
Hey, wait a second. That wasn't on the cheat sheet.
I told him I'd lob him softballs, but what do you do, Virgil?
Okay. Generally nothing. Okay. How's this? Like they said, I've been with SBDC for 20 years. A majority of it's been East Texas. I did spend a couple of years in Dallas. My primary role is a lot of it's been financing, pro formas, putting together loan packages, for, a bank calls me up and says, hey, we've got a client, putting together loan packages, for them, making sure they've got everything they need prior to meeting with the bank. We let the bank decide whether it's going to be a conventional loan or SBA loan, but I make sure the client knows, hey, this is what you've got, these are your options prior to, so they'll understand, hey, let's do a 504 or let's do this as a 7A, and let them know that this is a project that they may be able to fit for. So that's pretty much it.
Thanks, Virgil. One of the things that Virgil and I and Brandy in the back of the room are seeing quite a bit of at the SBDC are people who walk in to start a business and even to grow their business, and they're totally unprepared to go and walk into a bank and see a lender. There's a lot of basic financial illiteracy out there through no fault of their own. People who don't know what collateral means, or don't know that they need a down payment for a loan. Eva, what should small business owners and entrepreneurs do before they sit down with the lender? What do they need to be prepared for before they walk into your office?
I would say more so kind of have an idea of what are you needing the funds for, and payment-wise, are you looking, and term-wise. I would say, like, if you need a personal loan for starting a small business, of course, we're not going to want to put up depending how much your funds is, so we need to find out if you want to use an auto for collateral, if you want to borrow against your own funds, or if you just want to do a personal loan unsecured. We can just, it's just a broad different ways we can help you get those funds. And if at this point you get denied, we're gonna put you in a plan to help you put you on a plan to help you access those funds and how to be able to get to that point.
Thank you. And Virgil, what are you seeing when small business owners or entrepreneurs walk into your office? What are you dealing with in terms of getting them prepared to go to a lender?
One of the things I like to do is, I try to get lenders to send their clients to us prior to asking for a loan, because I don't want the client to be frustrated. So when I see a client, what I try to do is make sure that they're prepared, that they have all their documents, in place, before they sit down with a lender, or before their package goes, before a banker. And a lot of times, a client may not be quite ready, so I just kind of look at what their credit looks like. I always tell lenders, hey, look, let's save you some time. If you got a client, come to the SBDC first. So so send them to us. Let us screen them, prior, to them going to a lender. Make sure that they've got the credit, they've got the character, they've got their what they're going to be doing, what they're going to be selling, and that sort of thing before they sit down with a lender and get turned down or whatever.
Thank you, Virgil. And so there are a lot of resources out there to help small business owners and entrepreneurs. It amazes me. Every time I come to a function like this, I see another group, either state, local, or federal, who have resources to be able to help small business owners. And it's just a matter of matching the resource the questions you have and the help you need to the resource that's available out there. And it can be very confusing sometimes to small business owners. Bridget, can you kind of outline some of the resources that are available through the SBA that can help entrepreneurs?
Absolutely. Well, I want to show of hands, who likes free? Raise your hand. All right, because you're not raising your hand. We need to talk after this, okay? All right, so we do have some great resource partners, and obviously one right here is the Small Business Development Center. They offer the counseling, and it's free. So you want to be able to utilize that, but just as he was saying, we've got others that are not represented here today on the panel, and we've got one right back there, the VBD's, the VBOC is what we kind of Veteran Business Development Office. They are sporadic around, I think we've got a few of them here in Texas. We've got one in Arlington as well. And for those in our veteran community that are here, spouses are also eligible to get the free counseling, so it's not just the veteran itself. So kind of keep that in mind, but it's offering the free counseling, what we call getting you kind of lender ready, kind of review what you're doing, taking your idea to premonition to a business plan. Same thing, another organization that's out there is called SCORE, like you score a touchdown, SCORE. And they offer like a mentoringship. So sometimes, you might be working on that business plan, you might get a little frustrated because you're like, okay, well, how do I do this projection? Or what's my marketing? I need resources. And so you can call your mentor and you can request it on their website, score.org. And they usually get with you in 5 to 10 business days, and they offer that free counseling as well. And for my ladies here, we have our Women's Business Center. It doesn't exclude the men, but it does cater to our women entrepreneurs. We have one right now that is in Dallas, a little far from here, but they do virtual. So you can definitely look at our Women's Business Center. So we have 4 major resource partners that have offices, as he was mentioning, across the United States. Of course, we have our district offices. There's also a resource partner. There's 68 of those across the United States as well. We'll talk a little bit, I think there's another question here on how to access the closest resource partners, and we'll talk a little bit about that a little later.
Thank you. One of the things that I can hear down the hallway when a new client walks into the SBDC, first thing they say is, I didn't even know you were here. I didn't know this help existed. And that's part of the problem with a lot of programs. We don't have funding to get the word out. You oftentimes just have to find us. But, that's part of being an entrepreneur or small business owner as well, is seeking and finding the help that you need that will get you on the right track. So in terms of SBA loans or conventional loans or these types there are a lot of loan products that are out there. We get a lot of people that walk in and ask about grants and these sorts of things. How do you determine, what advice do you give small business even when they come in and they're looking for a loan and they might not be qualified for a loan, or you might have to deny them a loan? What advice do you give them?
I would definitely say to come in and see your local credit union or bank and see if they would credit counsel you. Part of my job is as soon as you walk in and want to open an account, we pull your credit report just to verify you. Once then, I'll be able to credit counsel you, make sure you have 4 open trade lines, and if not, I can direct you to how to get a trade line on your credit report. We look at the credit report will tell us if usually you have a mortgage, an auto, and personal loans, or credit cards. Credit cards show revolving REV. Personal loans show INST, which means there's nothing used as collateral. And then, of course, your auto will show their mortgage. It's very important to be able to build a relationship with your credit union. We can help you make sure you're able to access funds unsecured.
And how important is your credit score and that sort of thing in the whole? Very,
very important. You can have hundreds of dollars, but one of our biggest things that we run into a lot, there are people who have millions and millions of dollars, but some 200,000, you never know. But yes, they can use those funds, but once you dig into your funds, it's kind of hard to pay your own self back. So we advise putting your money in a CD. A CD is going to pay you an interest, and then you can borrow against your CD. So not only are you are we paying you interest, but you're also paying us interest? So number one thing I would say, come in, visit your local bank or credit union, and we can credit counsel you and get you to where you need to be.
Great, thank you. And Virgil, you see a lot of clients that walk in our door, they've either been sent to us by a lender because they've been denied. What do you usually tell your clients if they walk in? What do you see in terms of the ones that are going to be probably denied credit? How do you counsel them? How do you help them get on track to where they can qualify for a loan?
One of the things I like to do is look at their credit report, because each individual can go out, can pull their credit using annualcreditreport.com, and then we can help them correct some things on there, because generally it takes, if I sit down with a client, generally it takes me a couple hours, to help them go through that process. Or there's some things on there that you can dispute. How many aliases do you have? What if you got delinquencies? Why did those occur? Because sometimes if you can explain it to a lender why this happened, whether it's a divorce and your ex-husband messed up on credit cards, how do we correct that? So that's generally, like you said, credit score is important. What does your credit score is one thing, but what does the credit report show? How do we correct that? How do we bring it up to where you need it to get approved? A lot of bankers now are looking at generally 600 credit score 675 or higher. Okay, if I see someone that's got a lower credit score, then I look at maybe using like Lift Fund or People Fund as the source of funding. So let's start with your credit. Let's pull it. Let's take a look at what we can correct.
Yeah, credit scores are becoming increasingly important. And I was talking with a school group about a year ago, and I told them that credit card in your wallet is not free money. It can mean the difference between being able to buy a car or starting a business in the future if you have bad credit. So be very careful with your credit. So Eva, what are some of the different types of loans that you provide to people who come in looking to start a business or grow their business?
We offer personal loans, which unsecured, which means no collateral. Sometimes if you're looking for bigger funds, we can do a collateral loan with an auto. If you already have your auto financed somewhere, and there's positive equity, or if even there is no equity, even if there is negative equity, we can cross-pledge and get you funds that way. It helps you get a better interest rate. We also offer the shared secured loans, which means borrowing against your own money, or we do CD loans, which means you put your money in a CD, like I said, and you pay us interest, we pay you interest. We do also offer conventional loans, like home equity loans, and to get that started, what we personally need is just 3 monthly bank statements, 2 years worth of taxes, and 30-day worth of paycheck stubs. Our turnaround is usually 5 to 7 days. Just different options.
Thank you. And Virgil, you work with many different businesses and entrepreneurs out there. Describe some of the loans that you work with, conventional versus SBA, combination of the two. Explain to folks what loan products from your perspective are out there that can help small businesses.
First off, we have to know what the use of funds are going to be. It's going to include building, land, and equipment, working capital. Then, I'll look at if it's got land and a building and equipment. Then I'll look at the SB 504, which is a long-term fixed interest rate for 20 to 25 years. Right now, I think 504 is running like 6.8%, and then tag it along with an SBA 7A. If it's an expansion, then I'll look at, if it's an expansion of an existing business, the owner injection's got to be 10%. If it's a startup, then you're looking at 15%, and if it's a special use facility, then you're looking at 20%. Special use is primarily like a oil change place where they've got underground, they dig out, underground, pits. So I try to figure out what's going to be the best route for the client. If I think it's going to go 504, then that's, I tell them what to expect. Those are the primary loan programs that we use. The Chapman loan, which is offered by the ETRDC or the CDC over in Kilgore, that's another way to get, cash. I think they're running at 10.5%, depending on whether it's, working capital or equipment, go 5 years or 10 years. Like I said, when I meet with the client, I say, what do you need the money for and how's it going to be spent? And then I put together the request for the loan based on that information.
Thank you, Virgil. And Bridget, one of my first jobs right out of college, I worked for the federal government. And I know how the sausage is made when federal legislation hits, it goes into the department. They have to start writing the guidelines, and it goes to legal, and it goes back and forth. And sometimes between legislation and getting the program rolled out, it can be 12 to 18 months. And during COVID time, the SBA, my hat's off to the SBA, because I know how this works. And there are naysayers out there, but I sing the praises of the SBA to be able to roll out a program like they did, the Paycheck Protection Program and the EIDL loans, and start getting these loans out to small businesses before the guidelines are even written. So my hat's off to the SBA. Y'all did a tremendous job. You saved millions of small businesses out there. People come in every day telling us how the PPP loan that they got for their business literally saved their business. Can you talk to what other types of SBA programs are out there? I know there's EIDL, some businesses in Harrison County. There's a disaster loan program in effect right now that some businesses and homeowners are eligible for. Can you talk to those products?
Yeah, absolutely. So there is, what he's talking about, there is basically kind of two divisions of SBA. We've got our district offices, and then we have our disaster office. And so when you saw the COVID EIDL loans that came out, and then the PPP, and then the restaurant revitalization, and the shutter venue, all those programs stemmed right out from our disaster office. However, because the magnitude of the application and the need, district offices were also entwined with the disaster office to help, either whether it was processing, customer service, things of that nature. So when we talk about disaster, it can be just as we experience with COVID, but it also can be Mother Nature. We've all pretty much probably in here are familiar with Katrina, the hurricanes, the flooding, the wildfires, in Maui. There's a lot of different things that can come into play. Drought, especially in our farming community. And what these loans do are very low interest rate loans, and usually they're going to try to stem these out to a 30-year term like you saw in the COVID, but they're very low rates that you're not going to find at your typical bank. And of course, SBA Disaster is not a collateral lender. They take the best available. And the reason I know a little bit about disaster, because I worked for them for about 22 years before I came over to the district. So there is times which he just mentioned about the recent, the declaration that you might see in your community, and you can look at those when you go to SBA.gov. Up there is a menu item where you can look at disaster, and you can pull in based upon your county, because sometimes you might be a neighboring county, and you might still be eligible as a small business owner because you might be affected by the buying power of those constituents that are over in the other county. So don't discount that, I wasn't in that county. You might be what we call a contiguous county and might be eligible. So definitely check those out when you hear that maybe there's, because it doesn't necessarily have to be a federal disaster. It can be a governor basically declaration. So those things, and a lot of people don't know that. They always follow FEMA and Red Cross, and those are your federal sides where you get all the employee of organizations out there to service. So kind of keep that in mind, is especially being in a rural community, you want to definitely keep an eye on those if you hear, with those disasters. Important thing is even with disasters, you might need to get information. So those resource partners that we mentioned earlier, those are still, free counseling. It's not just for startups. It's also the counseling is if you're in business and let's say, a rep at SBA says, hey, you know what, I need a projection because you just started and we need to know how your business or how you are projecting your financials so we can establish repayment. Sometimes that can be very daunting as you're going through a disaster. Last thing you want to think is about how to put financials together, right? So that's where your resource partners come into play to kind of help you along. So we get this all the time where people say, well, I just started, but I'm affected and I don't think I'm eligible. When you have questions, you need to reach out. Whether it's your district office here in Euless or our resource partners, they're in constant communication with our office, and we try to communicate all the information that's pertinent and timely. So just as he was mentioning with COVID, things were rolled out and quickly, and rules and things changed as things progressed. And so usually that's when something unexpected like that kind of happens. But when natural, Mother Nature disasters, they're a little bit more defined, okay? So just kind of keep that in mind for those that are startup and existing. And when you're needing assistance, it isn't just financing. You could say, you know what? I need to go to SCORE because I need help with social media. That's the biggest thing that a lot of small businesses, they need that assistance. And so because you can classify what your needs are. It's not just on the finance side. We basically at SBA count on our resource partners to help you get you lender ready or grow your business, which we call scaling your business. So kind of keep that in mind.
Thank you. And it's the SBA resource partners, it's our job to kind of keep our ear to the track and understand what resources are available out there for our clients. So it really does make sense for entrepreneurs and small business owners to develop a relationship with SBDC, SCORE, VBOC, Women's Business Center. And I'll give you an example. So there's a Texas travel industry recovery grants are reopening in September. It enables us, we know about these things, so we're able to go to our qualified clients and send them an email and say, hey, you're eligible for this. Give us a call. We'll help you apply for this grant. And speaking of grants, and I'll just open this up, whoever wants to take this question. What other funding sources are available out there? We're getting a lot of people walking in asking about grants and different things like that. What are you all seeing out there?
Well, I'm going to take that real quick because a lot of people, I get this call all the time, and they want to know why SBA, where's the grants from SBA? Well, first and foremost, we don't do grants on the federal side through SBA. Now, there's the website grants.gov, but you'll see that's mostly for nonprofits, high-tech research, and so forth. But he's absolutely right. There's organizations out there that do grants. I know of one particular, especially for my veteran community here, I'm going to mention. It's an organization called ALICE. And if you go to ALICE, just as the name spelled.org, they're an organization that is very entrepreneurial spirited, especially for our veteran community. And they post all the time nationwide grants that you can apply for. But there's so many. And he's absolutely right. SBA, we count on our local resource partners to be in the know of maybe county or city type grants that might be out there or funding. And so there's organizations like your chambers, your economic development corporations, your city manager. Those are all resource partners that you can ask about maybe some programs that they're offering currently, as well as your small business development centers here.
And what we found in terms of grants, if grants are available out there, there are not as many out there for small businesses. There's very few startup grants. Again, helloalice.com is one of them. Grants.gov is another. Go ahead and look at those. The deal with a grant is, though, that people don't understand is if you don't qualify for a bank loan, chances are you're not going to qualify for a grant. And that's where your resource partners can step in and help you get loan or grant ready. The other thing about grants, if you go on Hello Alice, I went and did some research on it. They get, every year, they get 100,000 applications for each of their grants, which reduces the chances of getting a grant to about 0.5%. So again, your best resource, these grants aren't a quick fix. If your business is, struggling and you're about to go under, don't rely on going to find a grant to save your business. You need to come to one of your resource partners, SBDC, and we need to figure out what's going on in your business so that we can show a lender how this can be fixed by a bank loan. We can help you get your credit repaired. We can help you get a compelling business plan together. We can help you put together financial projections, which will allow you to become qualified and lender ready. What are you seeing out there, Eva? People come in and ask you for grants?
No, we do not do grants. More than anything, though, I network a lot to try to help people. Once they think that they've messed up the credit, it's the end of the world. No, we can credit counsel. When we pull credit report, we pull on Experian for loans. And on the bottom of your credit report, it gives you the number directly to call, so we can help you dispute and just advise you how to get that off your credit to be able to build your credit and fix it.
And credit repair is very, very important. Virgil, do you want to speak to other funding sources that you see? I know you've been doing some work on USDA and other sources of capital, access to capital, and that sort of thing.
Yeah, to get back, to that Texas grant that Dave mentioned, if you're in that industry, what they're going by is the next code of your tax returns. So if you have a question about does my business fit, contact us. We've got that list available as far as figuring out do you fit and what are the requirements. Like I said, most of mine are banks, SBA, SBA 504, 7As, conventional loans. I'm starting to delve into USDA loans, because with USDA you have to find that address where your business is located and make sure that you're in the service area. A lot of times, Harrison County is, a lot of Harrison County is. When you get into like Gregg County, no, because it's based on population and other items. So a lot of my clients have not been in SBA, but I have found a couple of clients I'm working with, where I'm looking at the USDA B&I program. So I have one client that we're not able to get approved through SBA, but USDA says, hey, let us take a look at it. So that's one of the projects I'm working on. So just like I said, as an SBDC advisor, we're really not concerned about whether it's going to go SBA or conventional. We just want to we just look at getting our clients funded. So that's the ultimate goal, and make sure that they are able to pay back. They can cover the debt service without putting themselves in a bind. So any type of program that I can research out and find for my clients, that's what I do.
Thank you, Virgil. And I think the bottom line is, banks and lending institutions, even grant funders, banks are businesses. They're in business to make money, and grant funders, they're in business to accomplish a goal, and you have to be qualified. You have to fall within their risk criteria, and that's something that your resource partners like an SBDC can help you get in that slot for qualifying for that risk criteria. And I think we're ready to take it to Q&A, and I think I have a hand up over here.
Just a quick question. What are the funding opportunities for minority business owners or if there are any? And also, guess, seemed like there was something else, but, also, I kept hearing about funding that if it's denied. Okay, so if you're a bank and I'm in front of you and I want to know what is a really, what are the parameters when you see a really, good profile? What are you looking for? What is it that makes a business when you say, yep, they got it all, we're going to go ahead and approve? That's what I want to know.
So there's two parts of the question. Eva, you want to tackle the first part?
Yeah, so a lot of things we run into is like people who own a business, but they just established it and haven't filed tax returns. We look at different factors on your credit report, and we do accept different proof of income, bank statements, sometimes even cash outflows, just as long as we know that you have established a business. I do everything I can to make sure we have good points to get you approved.
And what do you see out there, the incentives for banks to fund more minority projects or projects in more distressed areas? What are incentives that banks have to do that?
It just basically goes by.
Was that your question?
Okay. Okay. So we don't look just at the number. We look at different factors. To be honest with you, I've seen us fund loans for people with credit scores of 490, 520, 620, 700. It just, honestly, the biggest thing is building a credit relationship with your bank. More than anything is us knowing the member and what the funds are being used for. The biggest thing is just building a relationship with your banker. Because I'm a loan processor, so we build a relationship and be able to put in notes in there to get you those funds.
So continuing on with that question, Virgil, what do you see on a regular basis? What banks are looking for? What qualifies a person for a loan generally?
Like I said earlier, most banks are looking at credit scores of 675 or higher, okay? If you're borderline, let's take a look at your credit report and see what we can do to fix that to bump it up. A lot of times I like to see the credit report, your resume, and a personal financial statement. What are your assets? What are your liabilities? Who do you owe? Do you have anything that, do you have a student loan? Okay, if you got a student loan, it's deferred or you're making payments. Because SBA is a government-backed loan, which means, if you have a student loan that's in deferment, that's good because that's what they look at. If it's being paid on time, that's another thing. If you're delinquent, that's an issue. Okay, I've got lenders. I refer to them as like Lift Fund, People Fund. Those are community lenders that
CDFIs.
Yes, CDFIs, whatever that means. Those are lenders that are willing to. Those are collateral-based loans, which means, I worked with a customer before that needed $5,000 to expand their inventory. What did they use as collateral? I took pictures of their car, okay, and they were able to use that. It is a higher interest rate loan, which means generally 13 to 18%. But credit score is, 550, about, say 650 or less. So like I said, that your credit score, your credit report, your personal financial statement comes into play because when you look at, you're having to put cash into your business if you're a startup or you're looking at expansion. I need to know where that cash is coming from. Do you have it in a bank? Do you have it in a retirement? You can use the ROBS program, to use your retirement without being charged a penalty. So you get that set up. Whatever we need to do to get you funded, but those are the things I look at to determine the route that we're going to go.
And this level of expertise is why it's critical to get a relationship with one of the resource partners in this room. We have, Virgil's been doing this for 20 years. He's seen every kind of loan, and we've worked with clients who have been turned down by 5 or 6 banks before they found that one lender who was willing to accept what they were trying to do. And it's, we can help match the project to the lender oftentimes. And Bridget, what do you see out there?
Yeah, so just what you said, what we want to prevent is for you hitting 6 banks, okay, and not getting funded. That's why it's important to hit your resource partners. It's important to, if we are looking at your startup or you're looking at growth, the part of being lender ready is that business plan. And a lot of our resource partners will have steps or, worksheets, or they'll walk you through it. We even have on our thing 10 steps to starting a business that includes a lean business plan and a full-fledged business plan platform for you to look at. And it's important as you're working on your business plan, as we're talking up here about credit, because that goes hand in hand. When you're looking at building or starting your business or growth, you're putting that plan together, but you also need to be looking at your credit, because it takes time for that credit to get corrected. Don't think it's instantaneously. It takes time for it to roll and then roll into your credit reporting, okay? So in addition to all the different kinds of financing, we've talked about credit score. And he's absolutely right. Most banks are that higher credit score, but we do have what we call our micro lenders. And our micro lenders are sometimes our CDFIs, which is Community Development Funding Institutes, that are designated to help funding in underserved areas. And so what that does is, for an area that might say, okay, well, they say, okay, well, this is, an area that needs help, for small businesses or growth, or they're starting, or whatever that might be their goal, there's funding that's been allocated for that. Our micro lenders, we've got quite a few. As he mentions a couple of them, you got People Fund, Lift Fund, you got Dream Spring, Lindustry, BCL of Texas, and I think there's even 2 new ones that are entered our market in the last year. And these micro lenders, what's nice about it, they specialize in $50,000 or less, but they also do other SBA loan products and their own. So they might have their own goals of funding, like People Fund, for my veteran community, 5% fixed. That's huge. So, and Lift Fund has their program, and they're doing a 5%, I think, up to 100,000. So those are programs that when you go into our micro lenders, you want to talk about, and she's absolutely right, establishing that relationship with the banker. So you might have a personal bank right now, but you want to, maybe you like your bank. You want to make sure you like your bank. If you don't like your bank, you need to go ahead and switch now in your personal, okay? But you want to establish that business side. Ask the business, loan officer, what can you do for me? Not just take my money. What other programs, like credit counseling, she means, that's huge. Or maybe there's other programs. Maybe they have a certain kind of line of credit or credit cards. Every time I do a panel and I work with another financial institution, I learn about all these great programs that are great for the starting or growth, that you need to constantly be in contact with your loan officer, because the banks are constantly evolving to help you. They realize that the small business community is huge for their growth within their community if they're there. So that's another thing. When you're looking at a bank, you want to maybe look where you're doing your business at, because you can establish, they're going to be more apt to loan funds within their community that you're doing business, because they want to be part of that growth. And it's a win-win situation for them as well. So keep in mind that, there's a lot of different loan products SBA has. Like I said, there's that resource guide that has a little bit, of course, online. So, if we had more time, I'd go through all of them, but we can definitely mention them.
Another question back here. Isha.
Hello, my name is Isha Ray. I am the owner of Connect the Culture. We help Black and minority-based businesses start up their companies and, develop. And one of the main concerns that we have with our clients is, why, when I go and apply for a loan, why am I being denied? So I know that every case is a case-by-case situation and maybe be a different answer for everyone. But from you guys' perspective, what are some base key issues that you see resulting in people getting denials?
I would say as soon as we pull the credit report, it'll tell us if you have been late or if you're currently late. We will ask what happened there. Was it divorce or lose a job? And that kind of just helps us direct us. One key factor that helps if you have a terrible credit score, like 490, if you establish a relationship with us and have direct deposit, and you've been at your job 2 years, direct deposit is consistent, we set you up. We are more than likely to approve to loan because we'll take the funds from your direct deposit as soon as your paycheck hits. In business purposes, we'll watch the flow of how you're making your deposits, weekly, monthly, and if not, like I said, number one biggest thing is doing a shared secured loan, which is basically putting in $300 and borrowing against those funds for 6 months, and it's typically $52. Without even pulling your credit, I'm more than happy to sit down with you and give you projections to kind of direct you and help you with which route to go.
Virgil, what do you see with folks that come into the SBDC and they've been denied? What do you usually see as the issues?
A lot of times, banks have to be, banks have to appear to be open, but they may not, especially when I deal with someone that's looking at buying a hotel. Okay, there are some banks that won't touch hospitality. Okay, there are some banks that will not do this type of project. Some banks will not do startups. So you have to figure out which bank is willing to do that project. Does it fit their box? Okay, you may get turned down because they're not interested in that type of entity. Oil field related equipment, oil field related businesses may not fit their credit box. So that's what we got to find out. And doing this for as long as I have, some of the banks already know they're not going to move forward with it because it doesn't fit their credit box. So there's several different reasons, but we have to be able to find out what your business is, what it does, what you sell, and we have to be able to say, okay, you really pair well with this bank. A lot of times I see clients, they have their accounts are at Wells Fargo or Bank of America. Well, what we try to do is make sure you get hooked up with a community bank that's going to support the small business in that area. But a lot of times, a bank will turn down a client because it doesn't fit what they want to do. So we got to figure that out, and that's how I try to match them up.
Any other questions? There.
And I think this is really important. My business has been here for literally 100 years this year. And I appreciate your question because this is being a business here in Marshall, a Black business, as well as a female business owner. Sometimes it feels like you have a hand tied behind your back. Sometimes it feels like you got two hands tied behind your back. But I will say this, that having a business that's been established as long as it has, my mother has also worked that business as well with me, and trying to go to financial institutions here. And our business has it's an LLC and has 3 members that are involved in running that operation. And trying to get just a not very big loan for equipment, and through one of our personal, or just a city bank here. And it wasn't necessarily a denial, but it was a roadblock because all of those lenders had to be here in Marshall in person to sign the paperwork, when those lenders don't all live here in Marshall, Texas. And that was the only way we could get the money. And to me, I thought that was a bit ridiculous. So to me, those are roadblocks that I thought I did not understand. When the credit score is there, the collateral's there, the money in the bank is even there. Like we checked all the boxes, but I can't get all the members there, but we could all like electronically sign. It was even during the time of COVID. So those are the things that I hope financial institutions are able to understand, but also, to your point, that just because they might not like dealing with the old game or, whatever somebody else is trying to do, what their vision, goal, dream is, I thought that was what their business is. Maybe I don't understand. They're supposed to help funnel that person's dream. Maybe they're not in the right job. I didn't understand really that, but I hope that their roadblock doesn't cause us to not be able to do what it is that we want to do.
I get your frustration, and I completely understand it. You're not alone. We hear this all the time. I think, as Brandy said in a previous panel, expectations are important when you go into business, and understanding that banks are businesses, and they're in the business they're in the business to make money. And if it just happens to mesh with your dream and they can see a way of making money, then you're going to accomplish your dream. If it's not, you're not going to get funded. And that's just the way it is with banks and with grants. And again, I go back to the resource partners like an SBDC. We can help you align your dreams and goals with the bank's dreams and goals. The bank has shareholders, they have to make money. We can help you align your goals with their goals, and that's going to be your best chance of being funded. I don't see capriciousness out there where banks are not going to fund certain things because they don't like the person or they don't like the idea or whatever. It's just aligning what they do with what you do. You'll get a much better chance of being funded. And again, coming to a resource partner, we can match you with the right organization as well. So
I'm going to be very quick because I know by the way, I'm Jarvis Burr, small business advocate and officer of the governor. I know we're holding up everyone from some blue frog, and I hate to do that. But nonetheless, I want to first thank you, ma'am, for your question, you as well for your question, and congratulations on your business, 100 years. That's a huge, something to be celebrated. But nonetheless, I did want to provide quick insight because I think the two questions that y'all proposed are really the meat of what this panel is about. So one, the specific demographics. How can I go about getting funding? And maybe am I don't know, being put into a box to where I'm not eligible, or if I've been denied, how can I go about it? And your original question was essentially, what are those characteristics? What makes me, as Bridget called, lender ready? And I think every little piece that they touched upon between having a relationship and actually knowing what that amount is that you are needing for your business, putting together a business plan. Bridget even mentioned we want our small businesses to not be denied 5-6 times. So come to us, have that relationship with the bank, the relationship with your SBDC, so that they can put together that package. And as Virgil said, he would probably be able to find that lender who would fund your project, your business, your idea. So I think those are the key things that all of us can take away. The relationship with your banker and the relationship with your mentor or SBDC counselor or advisor. Those are huge things that can help you to where you're not getting denied multiple times and can get that amount to fulfill your dreams. So with that, again, I know.
Excellent point. Really excellent point. Thank you.
Thank you, Day. So with that, I know we're hungry. I believe the food is outside. Yes? Okay. Let's go grab us some Blue Frog. We will reconvene here in about 15 minutes now and begin our final keynote panel. Y'all are free to go. Thank y'all. I'm sorry, one more hand for our finance and funding panel.